How's it going, folks? Welcome back to the channel. Hello to all the new subscribers. And today on the lathe we have an enormous piece of sycamore. I've been saving this bit for a while, so it's time to tackle it today. Now, after yesterday's debacle, I decided I needed a clear vision of what I wanted to do from the beginning. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be the Ring of Power from Lord of the Rings. We'll let that sink in for a minute, because it's a big old piece of wood, and we're going to make the ring that Frodo carried from the Shire all the way to Mordor and chucked in a volcano. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Lord of the Rings, that's what happens. So the idea is we're going to make a replica of that ring. It's about 14 inches across. It's not going to be a complete donut. We're going to make a bowl out of it. But the exterior shape is going to be ring shaped, and it's going to have my floating base thingamajiggy. We're just isolating the base at the moment, roughing in some contours. Now, this piece was a little bit out of balance even when it was round. I assumed that the centre of the log was a bit wetter than the outside. So I could only turn at 800 RPM, which, to be fair, is plenty fast enough. So it's quite challenging getting the outside shape, because I usually do concave curves and strange things. So trying to get one consistent curve all the way around was a bit of a challenge. I'm sure for a lot of people that's sort of bread and butter work, but for me I don't really do it very often, so it was a good learning experience. So I decided we were a bit too deep. So I chopped the base off and made a new one. And you can see I've got my outside curve just about finished. I can't do the top face because I can't get around the back. I'll do that when we flip it round. A little bit of shear scraping, and then sanding just to finish the contours nicely with a 40 grit pad, and sanded all the way up to 600 grit. So I just put the mortise in the bottom. Some lovely spalting going on in this sycamore. Look at that. I'm officially ran out of shine juice finishing this bowl off, but that is a sanding paste and shine juice finish. And we've come to the part of the show where we get to showcase some of your fantastic work. Now, is that a scraps bowl or is that a scraps bowl? This has been sent in by Benidikt Munstermann, and I think that is by far the coolest scraps bowl I have ever seen. I can't even begin to understand how that was made. If you've got any ideas, then leave them in the comments, because I have no idea how that was put together. But I think that's the coolest scraps bowl I've ever seen. So well done, Benidikt. Thanks for sending it in. And if you'd like your work to be featured on the show, you can send your images to willmakeseverything@gmail.com. Alright folks, it's a lovely day, and last night I was watching Second Life of Woodturning, and I saw his scraps challenge. I thought, yeah, I can do that. So let me show you my scraps bin, and we'll pick some wood out of the scraps bin. Here it is. It's a big bugger. What do we got? Well, I can see something that needs recycling. If we ever kick around in here, there should be a fair bit of stuff actually. There's a bit. And that's the bog oak bowl. We're definitely having that. Right, this is what I found out of my scraps bin, in inverted commas. I don't know what wood it is. All sorts. Big bit of bog oak. The remains of the bog oak bowl. Found 2 bits of that. Bit of that. Bit of pine. Bit of that yew bowl that flew apart. Whatever that was. And whatever these are. I think that'll probably do us. Yeah, let's make a scrap platter. Okay, so you'll have to wait for the continuation of the scrap platter. Be the next few days I'll be putting that together. And we're on to the hollowing. And there's a lot of material to get through on this blank, because I wanted it to be fairly thin walled, as it is a ring. It's supposed to be a ring. I was talking to somebody on the email about the 40/40 grind not being very good for the last third of the hollowing, and yes and no, I think is my answer. I think if you're careful with it, you can do some fairly good hollowing on the bottom third of the bowl. If it's very, very flat, then it's not going to be very good, because it's quite an aggressive rake on the chisel. But I don't have a bottom feeder gouge, and I can't afford to buy another gouge, so I'm stuck with this one at the moment. But in terms of normal hollowing, it's an absolute beast. So I'm just refining that edge that I couldn't get from the other side. I would have liked to have turned this blank a bit quicker than 800, but I couldn't do it. First time I've seen the lathe wobble, but it doesn't wobble on the bolts. It just shakes around, doesn't move very much, but I can feel the floor vibrating, so it's probably not good that I do that too much. So I turned it back down to 800 again. So you see, I have to come quite a long way round to get into the side and turn through a full 90 degrees to get to the bottom. Now the thing I've learned about the 40/40 grind is when you're cutting, all it wants to do is eat. It doesn't like floating along the top and doing nice peeling cuts. It likes to go down as much as it likes to go forwards. Which meant that I got a little bit thin on the bottom of this bowl, thinner than I would have liked. So just a final refining of that top edge. And then sanding as much as we could all the way up to 600 grit. It's like paper. Might be joining the funnel club. Yep, got a little bit carried away with the hollowing. Tried to make the inside of the bowl bigger than the outside of the bowl, which never goes well. Oops. Alright folks, so this is the tail end of part 1 of this video. Now if you listen to this, there's not much holding that on. If you can see there, I almost sanded through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill this recess with epoxy, and then you can see where I've put some glue here just to stop it, stop the epoxy leaking, and some here. I won't be able to put this back on the lathe once I've filled it with epoxy, but I'll finish it by hand. And I'm thinking I might sand all the way through, and I will end up with a gold ring in the bottom of the bowl. That's my plan. Whether or not it'll work, we'll find out tomorrow. There we've got brass powder, sawdust and gold glitter. Let's see what they make. Right, so it's turned out that what that makes is a hot sticky mess. So back to the drawing board, and instead of using 5-minute epoxy, oh, it's all spongy. We're going to use proper epoxy. Let's try that again. Alright, so another thing I've never done before. In here we have, is it brass or bronze? bronze powder. And what we're going to try and do is make a putty out of this gold epoxy and this brass powder, bronze powder even. Now I don't know about the ratio, so hopefully 150 ml of resin is going to be enough. Probably way more than I need. Well, let's have a go. Okay, the moment of truth. Let's try this. Okay, so I'll take this opportunity while I'm pouring that resin to say thank you very much for watching the video. Thanks to all my subscribers for coming back and watching all the videos that I put out. It's very kind of you. And I hope you've enjoyed it. And if you have, then if you're not a subscriber, you might consider hitting the subscribe button and hit the like button and all that good stuff. And I'll see you on tomorrow's video. Cheers, folks. Alright, it's filled the hole. Let's see what we're left with in the morning.